Today's episode is brought to you by White Glove Car Wash. You know wintertime is coming, and you know what that means. Salt and brine on the roads. The leaves are going to start falling. You're going to have crap all over your car in no time. There's no better place to get it spick and span than a White Glove Car Wash. Now offering unlimited packages starting as low as $25 a month. You can go and get your car washed as many times as you want, so you can get any level of car enthusiast in your life the best gift that they can ask for. The ability to go daily and get that little perfect car of theirs clean, spick, and span. White Glove Car Wash with locations in Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. You are never too far from the glove. All you have to do is ask your phone, take me to White Glove Car Wash, and your phone is going to direct you to the best car wash in the tri-state area. Let them know that Talkin 215 sent you.
Welcome to Talkin 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talkin 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasado.
Hey! Come one, come all to witness the Philadelphia Eagles triumph over the Rams of Los Angeles.
I'll tell you, it was a hell of a game. We are back, Talkin 215, coming at you with another episode. Going to be covering all kinds of things, topics revolving around Saquon, AJ, Jalen Hurts, the terrible Sixers, a little bit of Flyers, maybe some Phillies, but it's mainly going to be birds. Because have you heard? Birds. Bird is the word. The bird is the word. I have got the main question kicking off the episode today. Dan, this is going to be the tackle up question of the episode. Sean, can a player be a team's GOAT of that position after one season on the team?
I think we've actually been having this argument within our fan base for the last 20 years, right? With Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
Can he be regarded as the best? I mean, when you think of all-time Eagles, I think that is a different question than what's the best Eagle at X position, right? Because I think one season is probably all you need. We're not making a Hall of Fame case here where longevity really matters. I think, as long as it's a full season, right? It's one of those arguments that statistics do actually matter. And if you put up the single best statistical season, especially by a landslide, I think that's going to completely eschew any sort of longevity arguments that you might have. Yeah.
I'm tweeting it out right now to all the fans, all the listeners and all. I think without a doubt, they can have the greatest single season of all time because that's more of a statistical analytical thing. I tend to lean in the camp of to be the GOAT of an entire team at that position. You need a little bit of longevity. You know what I mean? You need to do it over the course of a couple of years. I mean, they say Shady's probably regarded as the Eagles' greatest running back to this point. He's never had a season like Saquon's having, but he's had a lot of consecutive good seasons.
I think you need to be very particular about how you word the question, right? Because greatest Eagles running back, like the best running back the Eagles have ever had versus the greatest Eagles running back of all time. It feels like they have different connotations, right?
No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. As I said, no again to start a sentence. Damn it, Sean. My filler word.
Okay. You get like 3 or 4. That's fine. It's just when we get into like we're approaching double-digit territory.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
And I'm telling you, you're on a roll here.
I hear you. It's a great point of I more so thought of the question as the one where I feel as though longevity matters, where who is the Eagles' greatest running back of all time? Could that be Saquon after this season? I tend to lean more towards no, you need more, but it's clearly without a doubt going to be the greatest single season of an Eagles running back. It's going to be one of the greatest single seasons of any running back if he continues at this rate. When you guys told me and I'm going to have Dan find the clip. It's probably not going to be this week because we don't have a timestamp exactly when it was. But when we gave our hot takes of the season, before the season, everything, and I said Saquon Barkley will easily surpass 2,000 all-purpose yards. And your guys' initial reaction wasn't like, oh, that's impossible, but it wasn't, oh yeah, that's going to happen. It was, oh, that's asking a lot of somebody.
I was skeptical.
Yeah.
I thought this would still be a pass-first offense, and I was so very wrong. And I love that I'm wrong. I love that this team is running the ball damn near 60% of the time.
Yeah.
Right? Effectively at that. Right? I couldn't have seen this coming. I think you're seeing a whole bunch of like hot takes exposed where plenty of people were pretty skeptical. There's so many different mouths to feed, but guess what? Saquon's eating.
Yeah.
Every single game.
It's insane. Look, I got a fun couple of things here for you. I couldn't find exactly how many of these, but I feel like it's been at least 6 or 7. But last year, the longest rush by an Eagles rusher was 43 yards. For the entire 17-game season, DeAndre Swift had a single rush of 43 yards. I believe Saquon has over 7 rushes of 40 or more yards.
It seems like every single week he's just waiting to break one from the 30.
Yeah. Or 2.
You know, at least
if it was 2 days ago.
Or 2, but it seems like just there's at least once a play where it's a 50+ yarder, you know, in not even in the opponent's territory, and he's just breaking one. It just seems like it's not even a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, it's absurd. And it's any time he touches the ball. And what's wild is last year, another fun stat for you. Last year, all Eagle running backs combined. So Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott, DeAndre Swift, whoever else they might have thrown in there for a carry or two, every rusher combined for the Eagles, this doesn't include Jalen Hurts, had 1,500 and I believe 23 rushing yards last season through 17 games. And that's every running back combined. Thus far this season, Saquon Barkley has just under 1,400 rushing yards through 11 games. He is on pace to pass every running back combined through 17 games last season in 12 games.
He's on pace right now to win the single season rushing title or the record.
Yeah. And there's a chance that if he has some more insane games, he'll do it in the 16-game period, that he wouldn't even need the 17th game.
Without a doubt. I mean, our strength of schedule, we've got a couple big games coming up, but for the most part, like this is it's very home oriented. I think 4 out of the last 6 games are at home, and they're all incredibly winnable. Like I was reeling or taking steps back when we started off 2-2, and I had originally predicted this team as ends up 15-2. I might have been spot on here.
Who's I? It's a we, man. It was me and you. We were sitting 15-2. Me and you. Look, Coach. Shout out, Coach. He might have been 15-2. I thought he was 14-3. I'll have to look back at it. But he was very close with us. If he wasn't, of course, Coach. Again, something come up. He couldn't be on here. I promise he will be coming back. We had people reaching out. Hey, I like that Coach guy. Is he coming back? Yes, he is coming back. But he's not here right now. I'm talking about the 15-2. Me and you. And right now, gun to my head, they're going 15-2.
Yeah, how does this team finish? Do we take one loss, right?
The biggest test for the remainder of the season has got to be this upcoming week, correct?
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
Yeah. Because the Steelers are a very good team. I just think we're going to be able to shut them down offensively to where they're not scoring anything.
I think it's a very well-coached team that doesn't have nearly the amount of talent.
Correct.
Right.
Especially on offense. Like their offense isn't going to be able to do much.
No, absolutely not. I mean, there's only so many of our people that George Pickens can fist fight in the middle of a game. Right. I just don't see the firepower lining up, especially with the way this defense has been playing. It's a good team. I'm not going to say it's going to be a runaway game. It'll probably a knockdown, drag out game, just like, you know, Mike Tomlin always keeps his guys prepared.
Yeah, of course.
But they're not a better team than the Eagles, especially not right now. And unless the wheels fall off within the next week, they're not going to be when we face them.
No. And we're obviously going to talk more about that game in the coming episodes. But like looking at the remainder of the schedule, they obviously play the Cowboys again, who are a dumpster fire. They had played a good game against the Commanders. Like let's let's admit it, they played a good game against them. The Commanders have, we've just taken all the will and all the wind out of their sails, and they've just gone to underground. The
Well, you
Giants
just
are,
talk about you talk about how each team is progressing throughout the season, and the Eagles just seem to keep climbing and climbing. Where the Commanders, it almost feels like he's going their quarterback's going through a sophomore slump almost, because it's like he started off, they played to his strengths really well at the beginning of the season. He
yep.
was playing very well, and then defenses catch up, right? And that's your sophomore slump, is how quickly you can get over those defenses catching up. And right now, they just don't have any answers for Jaden Daniels doesn't have any answers.
Yeah, and it was
So,
also they figured it out as soon as I traded for Scary Terry McLaurin. Everyone else figured it out. So obviously, I was bailed out by a last-second 80-yard touchdown by him. But let's just hope they can still get a little bit of a connection there, and then still lose every game remaining
well, you
while
take
also
that
getting me
connection
some
away,
fantasy
and what
points.
do you have? You've got Zach Ertz,
You do,
right?
you do.
He's still a guy. He's still a guy, but
Oh
he's
yeah,
not the
for
guy.
sure. No,
He's definitely not the guy.
no, no. They got So they have the Panthers win, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants win, win, win. Steelers win. So that's 5 right there. So then we're sitting at, what would that be, 14-2? And
Yep.
then the one game that's going to be the tough one is going to be the Ravens this upcoming week, which I still think is a win. The main thing that concerns me has got to be Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson running.
Well, listen, this is going to be, they're going to score. They're going to be effective at times. I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be effective for all 4 quarters. And I think this Eagles team just comes on super strong and finishes games stronger than
I
any
was going to
team
say
that I've
finishes.
seen.
They're not going to start out strong.
No, but they build momentum throughout the game. They punch you in the face, right? It's just body shot after body shot after body shot. It's just running and pounding the rock. And by the 4th quarter, they're tired of trying to tackle Saquon, man.
Yeah.
This last game was an anomaly. He was, firing from all cylinders. It seemed like all 4 quarters, but usually up until that point, the 4th quarter is really where he seems to be doing most of his work. Between the 3rd and the 4th is where other defenses start to wear down, and Saquon just imposes his will. And the offensive line. Let's not forget to give them any credit. He's building steam and not getting touched until he doesn't even have to make a move until he's a yard or 2 past the line of scrimmage. You cannot give a freak like that much of a running start. He's going to shake you out of your cleats, or he's going to be going 22 miles an hour by then. Good luck stopping that.
Oh, certainly. And it's a testament to Saquon because it kind of puts in there, and obviously the play calling was atrocious last year. We all know that. We were talking about it all year. But DeAndre Swift had a better offensive line than the Eagles probably have right now. He had Jason Kelsey playing at an all-pro level, and you had Cam Jurgens playing at right guard where he was playing phenomenally, with obviously Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, and Jordan Mailata healthy for almost the entire season. Playing, we already gave up. They had all combined 1,550 something yards. And Saquon with a brand new center who's obviously playing very well. We're seeing him abuse people. He just gets downfield just like Jason Kelsey and just chucks bodies. You have Mekhi Becton, who's never played guard in his professional career. And you got obviously Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, who's Lane Johnson's a year older. And I honestly believe he's shown it a little bit. He's playing at a very high level, but not at that level that we always held him to. He was always a never worry about it guy. He's going to absolutely dominate anybody he's going up against, and he still dominates most, but you're seeing that age a little bit every now and then. You're like, man, the right side's looking a little suspect for a drive or two here, or even just a snap or two. But Saquon's doing all this with some unproven guys, and just the stat that they showed on Sunday Night Football was his entire career in the Giants. He averaged 1.4 yards before contact, and they nearly doubled that here with the Eagles. It's over 2 point something yards before he's even touched. And then you see the guy you see his thighs. It's tree trunks. You see his shiftiness, his speed. You're like, just because you're putting a hand on the guy at 2 point something yards certainly does not mean that he is going down at 2.5 yards.
No, and that kind of head of steam I've said it before. He's not getting hit like he has been. He is the one doing the hitting.
Yes.
right? You get that kind of head of steam. You're always falling forward. So when you talk about wear and tear, yeah, he's not going to be totally impervious to it. I don't know how many touches he's averaging, probably 26, 27 at this point per game. He eventually they're going to add up, but not nearly as much as the same amount of touches would wear him down in years past.
Oh, of course. He's healthier. You're seeing what everybody thought Saquon was going to be when he came out of college. And I was over in Tennessee this past weekend, and obviously college football is huge there. Tennessee is having a very strong season. Talking with a lot of people that are just huge college football nuts, and they saw I was wearing my Birds gear. We were talking Saquon and all, and they were just saying, coming out of college, like everybody knew he was going to be one of the greatest running backs in the pros. And he was relatively injury prone over there in New York. He showed his rookie season, burst onto the scene, and there was a lot of skepticism that he was going to be able to turn it back on with the Eagles. Obviously, even on this podcast, when people were a little bit skeptical that he was going to have 2,000 all-purpose yards. But he is shown with a quality offensive line. He's shown with a good health that he is the most dominant running back in the NFL.
I think this last week kind of put it to rest. I haven't been watching too many of the Ravens games and watching Derrick Henry. Very similar scenarios though,
Yeah.
right? You spend your entire career in what essentially equates to a bit more than a dumpster fire, right? And then you come over to a much more premier, much better run franchise, and what do you know, right?
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry was still dominant with the Titans.
Yes, of course he was. Of course he was. You still saw the flashes. I mean, the very different styles of running backs. But no, I agree. I mean, if you ask me who I would want in moving into the future out of any running back in the NFL, it's still Saquon.
Yeah.
More than any other 22, 23-year-old in the league, more than Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I offered a guy in the Dynasty League that you were a part of, Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor for Saquon Barkley, and they turned it down. And I asked somebody else, and they're like, "Yeah, I probably would have turned that down too." That's just in fantasy talking here.
I mean, you're certainly coming hot off the heels of Christian McCaffrey owners being burned all season.
Yeah.
With not knowing that there was 2 Achilles, and Jonathan Taylor, you don't know how that offense is going to be getting ran. Like, it's going to be running through him, but okay, throw 8 in the box. What else do you got? You got Anthony Richardson trying to beat you.
Yeah. No, certainly big move with the Eagles today, but we're going to talk about what led them to have that big move. Terrible news coming out of the Eagles locker room with Brandon Graham suffering a torn tricep. He is going to be out for the remainder of the season. Unfortunately, Dr. Mesa wasn't able to make tonight work. We're going to be getting him on here very shortly to talk about Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Darius Slay. They have a number of guys that got a little bit banged up here in the past couple of weeks. Bryce Huff having that wrist surgery, if he's going to be able to come back, when that might be. We're going to answer all those questions for you. But Brandon Graham, just the heart and soul of this defense, a true leader of the entire team, suffering a torn tricep and what could be his final season as a pro. I really hope it's not, because he was probably our most effective defensive end this season thus far.
I think without a doubt, this injury comes off of, I don't know, his best game of the season. One of his best games. I don't want to say as a pro. I'd have to really think back hard.
But in recent memory, I mean, he was dominant. Dominant.
Yeah.
2 sacks, bunch of tackles for a loss.
He was pressuring without like every other play that he was in there. So it's a huge bummer. It's a huge loss, both in the player, but the leader as well. Sticking out there. Like,
well, he's still going to be a leader, and he made a big point of it in his. It was relatively emotional in the locker room. More emotional today when he talked about it, but when he knew pretty early on, the reports came out right, like at the very end of the game, they knew what was going on, and he had talked about. He's like, "Look, I'm still going to lead this team. Like, I'm still here to help lead this team, lead this defense, be a captain of this team." And he's going to. I mean, the guy's going to be mic'd up on the sideline every single week now.
Yeah, there's only so much trash you can talk from the sidelines.
No, but I'm saying talking to his teammates too. Like,
no, I get it. It's just one little part of it, though. I don't know. I feel like a guy like that just certainly just keeps the energy high, even in
Yeah,
the defensive huddles, between plays.
certainly.
So obviously he's an all timer. You don't want to see him go out like that. You definitely want to see this team win for him, though.
Yeah.
You know, uh,
No, listener
now
sent a DM and brought up a good point. What was the last time the Eagles were having a very good regular season and they lost a leader of the team in Los Angeles?
that would be let's see, December 2nd, 2017.
That would
I don't
be.
know what the date was.
It
I
was
don't know.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But a very similar time of the year. The Eagles lose a leader of the team and they rally and they go on to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we've missed bigger pieces to the puzzle,
Yes.
right? Not to slight him at all, but as a rotational edge rusher. But I tell you what, man, we are shallow on defensive end.
We were shallow on defensive end.
I think we still are.
We had after the injury, we got what? Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, and Josh Sweat as our 3 edge rushers, really.
Yep.
And they may bring Teron Jackson up off of the practice squad and everything. But look, they signed Charles Harris today off of waivers, and I was very surprised that they signed him, not because I didn't think they should, but because I thought a team with a higher waiver priority would have gotten him. I was very surprised he fell to us in the waivers. He is a starting edge rusher for the Panthers who had 3 sacks this season. He has over 20 tackles. Yeah, he's not. Obviously, you're getting a guy off the waivers, Sean. You're not getting a guy.
You're getting a guy off
the.
and listen, I understand.
Player.
I'm not saying you could have done much better at this point.
Did you want Jason Pierre-Paul? Is that who you wanted, Sean? You wanted JPP coming off? You wanted them to talk JJ Watt to come out of retirement?
I give that decision 1 thumb down. I'd give you more, but no, I'm not saying that it was there was better people on the waiver wire. I'm just saying there wasn't shit out there. There's a reason why he was on the waivers after getting ditched by the Carolina Panthers. Okay. Nolan Smith has shown some promise throughout the season. It looks like he has been playing better at times. He gave us nothing last game. And I think there's going to be different stylistic matchups to where you're going to see nothing burgers out of him, and definitely Jalix Hunt as he gets used to this game. We still don't know what we have in Jalix Hunt, right? Josh Sweat's been a pleasant surprise. He's played better than he did last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, certainly. No, he's really come on strong.
He got a little banged up last game, but it sounds like he's ready to go. It sounds like he's good to go. He was back in the game before the end of it. So I can't imagine that's going to linger much.
Now, let me ask you this. I heard some people suggesting Zach Bond always was an outside linebacker. This is the first time he's played interior linebacker in his career. People have speculated, again, this is just fans talking. This is no reports. This is nothing coming out of the camp or nothing. What if just periodically you slide Zach Bond over to stand up edge, getting just he's there doing his normal outside linebacker kind of stand up stance, and you see what you got in Jeremiah Trotter Jr. throwing him in. Or again, you have all these different defensive alignments where you just have Nakobe Dean as the middle linebacker, and you don't have both of them playing in that center of the field there, and you slide Zach Bond down to be an edge rusher now and then.
I think that we really didn't have much of a clue who Zach Bond was when he was standing up in edge rushing, for good reason. Okay. He was just a fringe special teams kind of guy. I think what you're going to see, and listen, if they think J-Trot is ready to step up and be that guy, then yeah, we might see that from time to time. I think if anything, the responsibilities for the defensive ends are just going to change. I think it's going to be much more containing. You're not going to see the wide 9, right? They're just going to be responsible for gap, for lane integrity.
This could be better for our upcoming game.
And yes, very much so.
For Lamar Jackson, this could be better.
Just making sure the pocket looks like the pocket, right? And that there's not any huge gaps in the A, the B gap, right? This lane integrity is going to be huge against a mobile quarterback for sure. I mean, he's also going to have these guys out running 30, 40, 45 yards at a clip sometimes. So we're going to need some depth here. But no, I completely think that wide 9, you're not going to see a ton of that. guys just pinning their ears back, 4-point stance here and just hauling ass to the quarterback. I don't think we're going to see that a lot. I think the linebacker play has been good enough to where it's just going to be, hey, listen, keep your guy where he needs to be, make sure you don't let a guy outside of you, force him inside, and then Zach Bond's going to be there because that's been his job so far this season, and he's done a damn good job of it.
Oh, I'm at the point where every day I'm expecting a Zach Bond contract extension. I'm guessing his agent is saying, don't do it.
Yeah, his agent's got to be the one saying, listen, buddy, we signed a 1-year deal so that at the end of the season, you bet on yourself. And instead of making that, I don't know even what is he making, like $3-4 million this year?
I'll look it up right now.
So that no matter what that number is, that you're going to go out there and you're going to get multiple years and you're going to get guaranteed money that far exceeds whatever it is the Birds are paying.
1 year, 3.5. You're right on it. 3.4. 1 year, 3.5. Yep.
So he's going to go out there and he's going to make $8-9 million a year, and that's and his agent saying, listen, the price of the brick's going up, man. Like there's not an amount you can pay us right now unless you're willing to go to that number right now. Give us 3 years, $27 million with 21 of it guaranteed, and we'll sign the dotted line.
Yeah, I just need them to lock him in, and I'm honestly at the point where right there with him. Remember when we saw it was like back-to-back weeks? It was Avonte Maddox and Dallas Goedert both got extended, and it was at the time where we loved both of it. And again, we've talked Avonte Maddox too much over the past month, so we're not going to get into all that. I'm at the point where I want it announced damn near the same exact time for a Nakobe Dean contract extension. Who would have thought? Who'd have thought? Not me.
Not us.
Who would have thought?
Not us.
Not me.
Look at us.
Look at us. Hey, look at us.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Sync it up. Sync it up. This is a guy that I was all but out on. And I talked to Al Wilson over the weekend. For those that don't know, Al Wilson, University of Tennessee legend, went on to have a great career with the Broncos. I was shocked. I knew of him, and I looked up his stats after I had the opportunity to meet and talk with him over this past weekend. Yeah, I think he retired at either 28 or 29, and he had never missed more than one game in his career. So I don't think it was over a big injury thing. I didn't Google it or see like why he retired, and I obviously wasn't going to ask him, why'd you hang him up? But this is a guy that in 6 or 7 seasons was a 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. Clearly on a Hall of Fame path, he was able to keep that up for another 4 or 5 years. Either way, incredible player, great linebacker. And I talked to him a lot about Nakobe Dean. And he was like, look, you see it. He kind of echoed the same thing I've been saying on the podcast. He's like, you see it with this year 3 jump in a lot of players. It takes him a little bit. He's like, this is a guy that I could have told you right away. It's not going to happen right away. He's undersized. He's athletic as hell. He's got to figure out how he can use his athleticism, his size, his speed, and everything and convert it to the NFL level, because he was dominant at the collegiate level, because you hear a lot of people talk about it. It's a completely different animal, completely different game. And he just needed a couple of years, get a better scheme under him, get better utilized. And now he's playing at an incredible level. He's a phenomenal linebacker. If Zach Bond wasn't here and Nakobe Dean was playing at this level with Nicholas Moreau, they signed him to whatever, and he's back out there, we're sitting here praising Nakobe Dean. And obviously Zach Bond's deserved every ounce of praise that he's gotten. But we cannot stress enough that Nakobe Dean's playing at an elite level right now.
So I want to go back to whether or not we should be rooting to re-sign these guys. I think a lot of that's going to have to go into how long does Vic Fangio plan on sticking around, right? Is he plan on sticking around for another 4 or 5 seasons?
Where would he go?
Home. He would just quit.
Retire.
Yeah, it just sounds like he's already got kind of, I don't want to say one foot out the door, but this was supposed to be like his swan song, right? He wanted to go to Philly because he was kind of over it, and this was going to be his last stop, right? Which makes me at least question how many years left do you think he's going to be coaching? Because we've seen what Nakobe Dean looks like in other systems. It wasn't good. We've seen what Zach Bond looks like in other systems. It wasn't good. It wasn't noteworthy. Right. So how long do we plan on keeping this band together? Because if Vic Fangio has a 4, 5, 6 year plan, where he's obviously I wouldn't expect him to be looking into any head coaching gigs, but at least just working.
Yeah.
Then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the contract that he signed with the Dolphins was 3 years with a 4th-year option, so he had to have at least thought, like, I'm gonna be coaching for another 3 to 4 years, and then obviously they mutually decided to part ways, and he came over to Philadelphia, so obviously he lives in Dunmore, PA, and everything. He's coming home, he's a big Eagles fan, and sure, it's a swan song, but if the guy already mentally had it in his head that when he signed that contract with the Dolphins, if he wanted to coach for at least 3, possibly 4 more seasons, and now we're looking at least 2, possibly 3 more following this year, it had he still been with the Dolphins, and he gets the opportunity to come home, coach his team that he's loved, and take them to one of the best defenses that we've seen in a decade plus. I certainly, unless they win the Super Bowl this year, which I would take Vic Fangio leaving for an Eagles Super Bowl. Even if they do win the Super Bowl this year, I would personally be shocked if he wasn't back next season. Shocked.
I would agree. I would agree, but what kind of extension are these guys going to want?
Yeah.
Right. We talk about the agents. Is Nakobe Dean's agent saying, okay, great, but you're going to pay us for 5 years? If you're going to make that decision in the middle of the season because you're trying to sell us short, right? Because we all know that's exactly how he's hoping to buy low, right? If you're hoping to buy low, you're going to buy long. Okay. Sign me for $4.5 million a year, but 4 of it's going to be guaranteed, and it's going to be a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
There's always, there's always the agent that knows what's up. This is Howie Roseman we're talking about.
Of course.
We've seen this. We've heard the song before. So I mean, it's just a matter of agents just trying to catching up and playing hardball.
Yeah. But it's all like I need to see it happen. And Howie's always been the middle of the season contract extension guy. He's always kind of been the look. We want you here.
You're playing so well, and we haven't seen it.
Yeah. So I expect it. I expect it to happen here in the next couple of weeks. He always likes to, even if it's just a 5% discount, it's 5% less than you'd be paying at the open market. He's going to do what he can to lock these guys in. They do have a little bit of a wiggle room here. I think people always talk about how they're just so in debt with the A.J. Brown extension, the Devontae Smith, the Landon Dixon, Jordan Mailata, Jalen Hurts, all these guys. But Howie constructs them in such a way that they're going to be they're doing fine financially. They're not hurting. They're going to be able to sign these guys, especially Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond, who are going to get good money. But we're talking about good money for linebackers. We're not talking a premium value, expensive position. We're talking about some linebackers here who we love and would love to keep here. And again, who'd have thought? Not us.
Not us.
Not us. But super excited to see what they can do. I think their role with Brandon Graham being out and now having just Charles Harris come in, who's going to take a little bit to get acclimated with the system and everything. We're going to see what happens there. But I think their role is going to be pretty big in these next couple of weeks with Russell Wilson, with Lamar Jackson, with even Justin Fields getting a few random plays here and there. You're going to have to your ears are going to perk up when he steps out on the field, whether he's throwing it, whether he's running it. Who knows? I don't know. We'll find out, but it won't matter because we're winning by 20. Today's episode is brought to you by Tackle Up. Tackle Up is a premier, high-quality fishing shirt, lifestyle apparel company. They're providing the best quality shirts. You see us wearing them all the time. You saw the Double B, Double D, Bring Back Dollar Dog shirt, and we're going to be debuting a Red October shirt here soon. Head on over to tackleup.net. Use promo code TALKIN215 for 15% off site-wide. And even if you're not getting one of those shirts, they have Who Rags, they have Grundens, all kinds of other incredible fishing apparel, all the things you need. I understand winter is coming, and it might not be the best time for you to be getting fishing stuff right now for you to use, but guess what? It's also coming. Christmas, Hanukkah, all of the other gift-giving seasons where you can give your loved ones the exact gift that they need, which is a Tackle Up shirt. Tackleup.net. Let's do it. Devontae Smith was another guy that we were going to talk with Doc about. Looking forward to getting him on to really break all this down. Another hamstring thing. Seems like they've been hampered by the hamstrings this year.
It's every week.
Single player. Every single player, every week.
every single sport, it feels like. What is this pandemic of hamstrings in the Philadelphia region?
No, it's very odd. There's something in the water. There's something going on that's really just tightening these guys' hamstrings a little bit too much. Hoping for him to come back very soon. AJ Brown's still a bad man. He is a bad man. And I posed the question on Twitter in the middle of the game. We may be witnessing the Eagles' greatest wide receiver of all time and the Eagles' greatest running back of all time playing on the same team at the same time.
I tell you what, I can't remember a time in which you give a guy the ball and it just feels like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right. You're just waiting to see. You're just excited to see what the hell this guy's going to do. Right. AJ Brown in open space. You're just waiting to see exactly how he's going to decleat somebody. Right. How he's going to. I know it seems like the guy is floating and dancing, and I can't remember ever being excited to see a guy run with the ball in his hands. Maybe I just watched too many years of Zach Ertz just kind of falling forward as soon as he catches the ball, or Alshon Jeffrey and his 7-pound cleats. These guys are just like ballerinas out there.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was in Tennessee for the game as well, and I was watching it with my aunt and uncle, and that first catch where AJ did what he always does, where he stops right after he catches it and lets the other guy's momentum carry him past him. And they were like, wow, what a play. And I was like, I'm telling you, that is a patented AJ Brown move. You will see it 5 more times tonight alone. Or you'll see it where he fakes that he's going to stop, makes the other guy bite, and he still goes for it. He always knows what to do to make the other defender that's right on him not be able to take him right down. And it was incredible. But that really is the AJ Brown move. You see it every time where he's going left to right, catches the ball in stride. He'll put the brakes on like that. The guy will run right by him. You'll see him he'll give him a little tap on the behind, just, a little, how's it going on the way out the door. And then he's just gone. And then he still is going to do a little shimmy, shake heading up the field.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about just stealing a nickname here. Talk about cutting on a dime here. Right, just being able to stop completely and then start back up and hit top speed. Right, 2 steps, you're like, well, he's got the corner. Son of a bitch, there he goes again.
No, he's a guy that you're just like, oh, it's a 10-yard pass. Oh no, it's a 30, it's a 40-yard pass. He's just like, oh, we got the sticks and more. You're waiting for Mel Reese. Jalen Hurts throws it over the middle. It's AJ Brown at the 50, 40-yard 40, 35, 30, 25, down to the 20-yard line. AJ Brown.
I want to follow up with another impersonation. I'm not going to do anything.
Was the Hers crunch moment of the game, Merrill.
Wow, he sure is fast.
Didn't know Mike got so southern so quick. Damn.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry,
let's go down to Howard on the field. Oh, excuse me. He's lost rights to be down there.
Whoa. He can only go. He can still come there. I think he can just go to.
I know. It's a joke.
I don't even know what we were talking about.
What a dope.
He doesn't get free beer at the tailgates.
No, he does not. We made sure of that.
No.
AJ Brown, bad man. Saquon Barkley, bad man. Jalen Hurts in the second half, bad man.
I tell you what, man, every single week, who gets even badder? Cooper DeJean. Just locking up Cooper Kupp. Just that Cooper on Cooper crime. Bro, that guy was in lockstep. You talk about dancing. That guy's got it just every week I'm just more and more impressed with this guy. I don't know what Kupp's final line was, but it wasn't much.
Yeah. It was
right. It seemed like Quignon showed some had a little bit of trouble with some of those smaller, really shiftier guys.
Kind of like obviously he gave up his first
touchdown
of the season.
He looked mortal. Is all I'm going to say. He gave up
his first touchdown of the season at the very end of the game.
Sound like safety may have been in the wrong spot. It was
like whoop-de-doo. But you also saw how many times did you see them shift over to Slay's side to avoid Q? Like before Slay went out, you saw them motion guys away from Q just because they didn't want to play. They wanted to avoid him at all costs.
Yeah, and I just think they saw that Slay wasn't feeling too well. He was a little gimpy. He's been a gimpy the last couple of weeks. They definitely saw that on film. And I mean, you saw him go after Isaiah Rodgers. I mean, whether or not he was in good position, which he
Yeah.
was, whether or not he played that one
Bullshit, man.
particular uh, ball very well, which he did. Right? It's 40 minutes into this episode, and we still haven't complained once about the refs, which is
It's
amazing
and the
because
Eagles
they were
dominating make it so much harder to really like. Obviously,
the
they got
Eagles are in penalties against. The Eagles are 32nd in the NFL. They are dead last at teams committing penalties against them. That is
them
no
committing. Yeah,
coincidence.
yeah. They get no calls again for going for them. Jalen Carter has held 60-75% of
And
every
it's
play.
literally, where else are you looking?
Yeah.
Where else are you looking? There's a head judge that's staring at the quarterback at all times. You have no choice but to see him getting both sides of his shoulder pads. There's fingers. There's a full
They're
four
quite
fingers
literally trying to
underneath.
undress him on the field.
Yes.
Jalen Carter's held ridiculously. You're getting guys. Jalen Hurts is getting headshots all game long, just taking shots to the head. You got defensive pass interference against us not called. You got all just nonsense. I watched a guy, and I'm looking at it. They're at the line. Jalen Hurts, Eagles offense, big play, third down, 3rd and 4, something like that in this game. Guy's helmet for the Rams completely over the line of scrimmage. You're looking down and you see the line judge staring right down it. And I'm like, ooh, we're about to have a free play. It's 3rd and 4, so it's a guaranteed first down no matter what happens. And they're going to see the flag right away, air it out. You never know. AJ Brown's down there. Going to be a big play. Snaps the ball. No flag. They end up taking an 8-yard sack, losing a bunch of yards. That was a crucial drive ender. And it's just absurd. And then obviously on the flip side, we're getting the worst defensive pass interference calls I've ever seen.
They weren't allowed to play. They just weren't allowed to play defense at all.
Yeah. Or they play good defense and they just throw a flag. They had a memo from the NFL.
They played fantastic defense. Yeah. That wouldn't have been called in 16 out of the game, or 15 of the games, right, that were played that week. But that got called in this one.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, there was a memo sent from the NFL saying, hey, do whatever you can to keep this primetime game close. Make sure it's a good game. Do whatever it takes to keep it close. And Saquon said, hold my balls. Hold my nuts.
Still could not keep it close. That game was supposed to be an even bigger ass whooping.
Oh, yeah. And the first 14 points was awarded to the Rams.
Absolutely.
We awarded them 14 points.
Giving it to them at the 1 and the 2 or something like that?
Yes.
Absurd on 2 ticky-tack. Like, it'll happen every single play.
And
every single passing play.
We always, or pretty much always, hate the national broadcasters because they're very biased against Philadelphia throughout their careers. We've always heard it. And you're hearing Mike Pereira, you're hearing Collinsworth, you're hearing all these guys like, I'll tell you, Mike, I didn't see anything there.
That never happens. That never happens where all of them are just like, one of them's like, maybe, hey, do you see something? That's how you know they're like trying to not shit on the refs is when they go, hey, Mike, are you seeing anything?
And Mike's like
Chris Collinsworth.
No, there was nothing there.
Right.
Yeah, and Mike's even just like, no, it needs to be a
Mike's
huge
like,
hindrance into the play, and I saw nothing there. And they're like, yeah, same with us. Oh, they snapped the ball here. Let's find out. Like, oh, no. And then they tried their very best not to see Sirianni's challenge flag. And like, you're expecting when you hear about it, you're expecting it like, oh, he got it off right before the snap. Then you see the replay, you see him throw it, you see him pointing at it for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then the ball snapped. You're like, are you trying to just be like, what flag? No, I don't see it. My flag's right here, Nick. I'm holding it right here. I didn't know. I still have my flag. Just, they were doing whatever they could. And the NFL was kind of like, fuck, we got to let him have this challenge. It's too But then they called it on the field that it wasn't a fumble. How many times do we see them let it play out because they know, any turnover is automatically reviewed, and then a blatant, obvious turnover, they're like, "Nah, he was down."
Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close.
They did whatever they could to try to screw the Eagles over.
It's certainly that's what it feels like, right? I mean, normally
You let
when
that play out every time.
Exactly. But normally when I say these things, I'm like being halfway facetious. Like, I'm just being like a biased fan here. Like, yeah, of course the refs suck. Yeah, of course the commentary's biased. The refs were just genuinely like, this is the first game I've watched where I've been like, dude, they really may have been prepped ahead of time. Like, do not let this game get above a 2-score game.
Yeah. And then
I just can't believe I'm saying that like genuinely out of like the bottom of my heart here. Like there was like there was a memo ahead of time, or the guys were talking ahead of time. Like, yo, the last 6 Sunday night footballs, the ratings have been down in the fourth quarter. Don't let it happen again.
And then Saquon said, "Hold my nuts."
And Saquon said, listen, we're going to open this bad bitch up. I'm going to go for 70 the very first play of the second quarter.
And I mean, look, AJ and Saquon combined for over 415 total yards, or 411 total yards.
That was the AJ Brown put together the quietest triple-digit receiving yard performance I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and he could have done more. It was like one of those things where it's like, we're just gonna run it. And they,
why would you do anything else? Why? At this point, I'm like, AJ, I wish I could have a talk with him. Like, bro, like, please do not get mad if we give you 4 receptions for 80 yards max the rest of the way, because we are averaging 6 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Saquon, obviously with 2 massive runs, averaged 9.8 yards per carry over 25 carries.
Like, that's college numbers.
26 carries, excuse me. That's
why would we ever do anything else? Why would we do anything but run the ball? Like, until they put 9 in the box and they're just two like one-on-one, no safety over top. And Sean, then we throw the ball.
Sean, all of this talked about, and when you're saying, and then we throw the ball, just brings up a play that I know when you saw it, you thought, oh, that made Jake happy. They executed a beautiful running back screen.
I was wondering if you were going to let me say it.
You knew what I was going to say.
Yeah, it actually worked. It didn't get blown up behind the line of scrimmage. I didn't have to scream about Gainwell for a loss of 3. I'm so happy for you.
I have been dying to bring the running back screen game back. Look, for those watching on YouTube, I'm a heavy pitter. My pits are usually pitting, and I'm just easy breezy thinking about Eagles running back screens. There's not an ounce of sweat in these pits.
That makes one of us. I trained before the podcast.
Though. No, you look good. So I said we're going to talk Flyers Sixers too this episode. Sixers suck. Flyers find ways to get a point, but blew a 3-0 lead against a I don't even know what you want to call the Golden Knights. They're not rivals, but they're their conference. Or not conference. They're their divisional leader for another division against a Western Division leader. They had the chance to beat a very good team. They're up 3-0 and lost in a shootout. Phillies. I don't know. They're going to sign somebody. They're going to not sign a few of their own guys. They might trade somebody. Who knows? Final thought, Sean?
Well, I was just going to ask how you feel about Bone being on the trading block prominently. I cannot believe before you even talk. I cannot believe after the first half of the season that Bohm had, after the last 3 years of being big Bohm guys, that question just starts us off with a huge sigh. Like how far we've gone, how far we've kind of fallen here.
It's a sigh. It's a sigh because I was playing poker with our guy Ben Silver. He's been on the podcast a bunch. Great guy, good poker player, very good poker player. And I asked him about it. And he was like, I feel as though it's being put out there way, way more than it actually is in real life. He's like, I would personally be pretty surprised if he was traded or they're putting it out there and they are holding him at a very high value, which he should. Big bone guys here. Right now, I saw somebody tweet out yesterday. They're like, I'm far enough removed from the MLB season that I'm already super excited for the next one, and I've forgotten about all the shortcomings of this last season. Me personally, I'm not. I'm still pissed pretty regularly about this team, about how they already extended Kevin Long, how they extended Rob Thompson already, how they did all these things. And John Middleton went out there and basically said, we're going to run it back. We're seeing that with the Sixers. We're seeing that with teams just not doing it. So I'm still pretty pissed at the Phillies in general. So that's more where the sigh was.
Are the reports that Milton's expected to be a kind of a heavy hitter, that this is the
Let's
year
hope.
that he's like World Series or bust here,
Let's
while
hope.
also being out on Juan Soto? So make that make sense.
Oh, they said they're out on him?
They said that reports, of course, take them with as big of a grain of salt as you'd like, but there's 5 teams that are apparently in the running, and they're all 5 big market teams, but no Philly.
We'll see. They're meeting with him at least, so where they have met with him at least. I don't know if they already have or not.
Listen, I just know that Google loves or has found out that I'm a sucker for like these totally off the wall trade rumors, or this mega star sees himself in a Phillies jersey in this mock trade. And I'm like, dude, just give me something solid. Give
Seriously.
me something. You know,
I'm seeing Anthony Santander a lot. I'm seeing Blake Snell. And this is in the same Google-driven algorithm stuff.
And it's always just like John Matthews of, you know, the just some website that gets 13 views a month, right? That are like, hypothetically, you know, if you traded Bohm and Mick Abel and Justin Crawford.
You saw that trade too?
Yeah.
The 3-team trade.
Yeah. Cash considerations, which, you know, gets dealt every single deal.
Nuts.
Like, come on.
No, it's silly. It's silly. Look, he's got to make a big splash. He's got to make a big splash to give me a reason to renew our tickets, because they upped the price immensely. And if they trot out the same shit they trotted out last year, I'm not renewing them.
Well, it's the same thing, right? I mean, is there, and we're up against it, so we're not going to be this is going to have to be another like 20-minute episode another time or something like that. But like, you know, what are our top needs? Who would you like re-signed? Whose contracts are coming up maybe even next season that you really don't see with the team? You know, there's just so many question marks, and it can't be just left at like, let's run it back here.
Correct.
It can't. But like, who do you move? Like, we're going to be getting rid of some people that we have gushed over for the last couple seasons. And this is always the tough part, is like, yeah, there are some guys that you grow to dislike pretty strongly. But most of the time, man, these are guys that you kind of, I don't want to say grow old with, but like you get to know them really well.
Well, thank goodness we re-signed Jose Ruiz. You know, I'm a big Jose Ruiz guy.
Oh, come on. I'm okay with that. He was our,
sure.
What was the last time we had a long reliever that we didn't just constantly curse to the high hell, to high
He's
seas?
the guy you bring in a 4-run deficit to eat a couple innings,
or a 6-run like lead.
Yeah, but then they were using him in 1- and 2-run games that I did not like. We'll talk about it more.
Yeah,
I gotta play basketball.
All right, go play basketball. We'll chat about this some other time.
All right, final thought. Ball is life. I don't know.
Go Birds.